eyes watering. This eye feels funny. So hello, hi, welcome to the stream, the YouTube stream. I do these every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. And that's UK 8:30 p.m. UK time. 2030. So these talks are about non-duality. Hopefully you've heard of non-duality before. I first came across the term, not the term non-duality, I came across the idea of being present, first of all, in my late 20s. And then within months later, maybe a year or so later, heard the term non-duality. To describe that change that can happen in humans where they aren't, there isn't that living through a story of a person anymore. That change from a suffering human identity to freedom, to everything being as it is, being free. Not burdened by that sense of ownership. Yeah, and it's been a long, a seemingly long journey of listening, understanding, little shifts and realizing what's been spoken about, realizing it actually experientially, and then more understanding and more dreaming and more just this endless process. And I began speaking about it around maybe my daughter was 1, I think. I think 1, 2, no 1. Yeah, about 1 or a few months old actually, before she turned 1. So around 2013. purely because there was such joy in this discovery of this message. Such a joy, such childlike joy, began to bubble up. And I could look back and say I began speaking way too early, way before this had deepened and integrated, and I could say that, but at the same time, I wouldn't say that, because it was totally the way it happened. It was totally perfect. It was totally. It couldn't have. It couldn't. I couldn't have not done that. It's just what happened. It's just what happened. Yeah. Like, it can't be an error. It can't be wrong. It's just what happened. But I can still say it's probably a bit too early to start speaking, but it was perfect. And so much learning and growth and development and understanding and deepening has happened since I began doing these videos and then these longer streams. But yeah, that's just the way it happens in these modern times of YouTube. And yeah. I didn't go to a guru or a teacher. I had teachers and gurus, but I never really, because they're so big with many followers, you don't have time for like that intense one-to-one, and it's just you kind of get bits and bobs sort of thing through the internet, through going to retreats and talks. But yeah, read books. Modern times. So I've titled this broadcast outside the story of you. Yes. And we've all heard concepts of there is no inside outside, but try and put that concept aside and hear what's being talked about outside the story of you. I mean, that's just a profound thing. Outside the story of you, this idea of you, this idea of who we are, is so pervading. Is that the word? All pervading. It fills our whole waking state is filled with this idea of me, this idea of a someone, my journey, my story, what's happened, what's going to happen. It's filled with it. So to hear that pointing of outside the story of you, it's quite a profound pointing. And non-duality points to that outside of this dream story of a person, this dream story of somebody living, of somebody having this living experience of the world, of other, of who they believe they are, this character, this story of someone. A radical teaching. Because all we know is that story. All the mind knows is that story. So it's like a backhand, a going behind of that whole identity and pointing outside of that whole that whole experience, that whole dream. And this is why it's said, I feel, that it's not about you, it's not about the person. Because that mentality of a person is fixated on itself, it's fixated on its problems, on finding its happiness, finding its pleasure, fixing what it perceives to be wrong. And so it will take this and try to fit it into its life, to improve its life situation. But this isn't for that dream person. What's being questioned is this dream person who feels to be so real. It feels as if that is who you are, that is someone here. Is that dream person a reality? Meaning, is that dream person's story the way things are? Is it true? Is that true? Is that storytelling of someone an actual reality? Does it equal a someone sitting here? So this is a questioning, you could say, a questioning of those thoughts, of those ideas, a questioning of those emotions, those feelings. Because there's so much suffering around claimed ideas and claimed feelings. This is who I am. And so it's a dismantling of that. And it isn't dismantled by someone. You could say life put that into existence, and then life undoes or detangles that as well. So this is about life happening. Life happening. And in life happening appears a story of someone, but that story of someone isn't the ultimate reality. It's an appearance appearing as life happening. It's just that in humans it gets sticky. And there's an appearance of this character being claimed to be someone. Like it sticks and it repeats and repeats. And it makes life feel like it's boxed off and limited. So if that story of you is merely an appearance appearing and not reality, not true, just a mixture of thoughts and feelings and ideas appearing, saying me, 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 my story, who I am, if that isn't true, it's merely a functioning of the brain appearing. Then what is the experiencer? That feeling of me, Rebekah, in here, looking out, speaking, looking, seeing, hearing, tasting, whatever, understanding. If that isn't true, then what really is hearing and speaking and feeling? And that's not to be answered with the mind. It's more a direct experience of it. It's not something you have to look for in a way. You can't look for it. It's beyond looking for it. It would have to be an object, a thing to look for. It's primary, more primary than objects appearing, more primary than thoughts and forms appearing. It just is. From that comes ideas and thoughts and objects. So this isn't lost. It isn't missing. It can't be. This is all there is. It just appears as form. And in humans, it appears as an identification with that form. An identification as form, as a thing. So in a way, this doesn't give you, that person, anything. It doesn't give you anything. And yet it's freedom. Rather dreams playing of identification than you believe you will get something in form. Something in form will do it for you. Some achievement, some having will do it. Your peace, your completion, your love, your happiness is in form, in objects, experiences, and pleasure. But what is really longed for is freedom. Freedom. And that isn't the absence of pain and pleasure, but it's freedom from the effects, you could say, the effects of pain and pleasure. So I don't really know I don't really teach anything. Um, um, simply pointing to that which is longed for. Pointing out the suffering that humans have. I mean, maybe in time I'll develop some kind of teaching that's um, more clear, more progressive. I don't know, but yeah. Okay, so you're more than welcome to message or call on Skype. Hi, Brian. My voluntary thoughts and actions seem to come from a me inside the body, this body. Are you saying that what seems voluntary is really involuntary? Yeah, I am saying that. yeah. This deep belief, deep idea that I'm choosing the actions, I'm choosing the emotions, that the thoughts, I'm choosing to put my leg up on the chair, or I'm choosing to scratch my cheek. An idea. We can't find that one who seemingly is choosing that. Is reporting that I'm doing that, I'm doing this, but we can't find that chooser. Or can you find that chooser? And then how did you make that choice or that thought appear in the first place? If you're responsible for thoughts, let's say thoughts, if you're responsible for the thoughts that come, how are you making thoughts up? We don't even know what thoughts are, I don't think. What are thoughts? We don't even know what they are. So how are you making them? And that can be looked and seen. Oh yeah, thoughts just appear. They just pop up. So this sense of I, this idea of an I, is also another thing popping up. How can that refer to an actual chooser if it's also appearing, also popping up out of nowhere? That can be scary, to begin to see that this is just happening. This idea of a me is just happening, just appearing. Like it shakes the ground a little bit because you can't stand anywhere. But it's totally lookable. I mean, you can look and see that this is just happening. Actions are just happening. Then we go further and question who's the one seeing that. Is that also an appearance? But it's a really shocking, hardcore message. What's being pointed at is such a hardcore, profound message. Society is based upon that. Like it's a like a fundamental basis of all of society, relationships and everything. It's about you in here being responsible, and then the other out there responsible for that body. So to question the very fabric of that is quite a shocking thing to start to question. That it's not true. That this is a happening and it isn't being controlled by someone or operated by someone. It's happening. It's coming out. It's appearing. It's living. And it isn't a someone living. It's living. It's life. And it's totally whole. It really is a radical message. I thought you were still typing. Oh, yeah. It just came through. I know, so I'm told atoms are mostly just empty space, but objects still feel solid. In the same way, voluntariness may be an illusion, but I feel very much a decision maker. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, totally. We were told that in physics that objects are empty, the emptiness, but they appear to be solid and real and physical. Voluntariness may be an illusion, but I feel very much a decision maker. Yeah, yeah. So it feels like I chose to sit here, for example. I choose to speak, or I choose to do a Ustream. Sorry, Ustream. That was olden times. I used to use Ustream. YouTube. I choose to eat dinner at this time, or go to the park at this time. So it feels like that. It seems like that. It appears like that. So this really isn't about that changing. The surface level seems as if this human is operating very ordinary and doing shopping and doing this and doing that. So it seems very ordinary. So it isn't a surface level change. But like the cup in that physics story, seeming to be solid and real and, physical, it seems that way on the surface, but ultimately it isn't. It's emptiness. It's empty, giving it the illusion of texture and maybe not so much smell, but illusion of, physical. So in the same way, the human, just like the plant and the tree and the animal, is empty, but it appears to be physical. You can touch it and smell it. And it also, unlike the plant or the tree, it speaks. It thinks. It feels. I think I'm not sure actually about trees do feel. I'm not sure. But let's just say that they don't, and humans do. We think, we feel, we move a lot more obviously than trees or plants. So obviously there's a difference in our abilities. Our functioning is different to a plant or to a table or the cup, and that isn't going to change. That's the way of this machine or this animal, is to function like a human functions. But the point is, it's not a separate someone. It's a part of the whole. It isn't separately being operated by an entity inside or in the brain. That's been the assumption, the belief, the story, the conditioning, that we are separate entities. And it's like it became like a reality. It was believed and acted like that, and it became an actual more and more agreed upon thing. So this dream became an actual, we all began to operate as that through this story of someone that was fostered. Again, not someone's doing, it's just the way this has evolved and developed. And with it has come more and more suffering, more and more discomfort with that way of being. Like, we have so much as humans, and yet there's so much discomfort and unease and discontent. If you compare us to other animals and nature, like trees and plants, so much discomfort and discontent and unhappiness and suffering. Why is that? Like the animals and the trees and plants, we take nourishment, we release the waste from that. We want to be a part of the community. We want to be dry, to be warm. But we have an extra thing, an extra complexity, which comes from complicated thinking. Which began to create an idea of who we are, an abstract idea of who we are. And that seeming idea of who we are seemingly covered up this freedom of what we truly are, of what this truly is, which isn't a thing. Which isn't a thing. Thank you, Brian. Maybe that addressed what you were asking. I'm not sure. Yeah. Okay, so thank you for joining in. Yeah, have a great week, and I'm back next Thursday at 8:30, so you can join me then. Thank you. Bye.